Hey guys, welcome back. Another episode of the Sopwith Camel full-size build, Latrobe Valley, Victoria, Australia, aerodrome aeroplanes kit. Last episode we had it all painted and you can see it in the tent there. She's going to dry. This episode, tidy up the back end. I'll use the polite words. Tidy up the back end, starting with the tail wheel, some panels, and we'll get the empennage on. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, I've packed up the paint for a while, put the paint away, got the wing out. Just having a look at the wing, leave myself some notes. I've got to drill all the holes, get all the harsh edges off. I need to work out something for the aileron cable, thinking about covering. I need to stop these guys from collapsing inwards. General tidy up. Make sure all my turnbuckles are lock wired and split pinned. Yeah, think ahead for the covering. I made up this little button, I call them. Just a Teflon piece with 4 zip ties to keep the cables happy. That's the wing. I've dragged out the tail wheel. You don't take much notice of tail wheels, but it's one of those things that if you don't get it right now, I reckon it could bite you on the bum and be a bit, you know, sort of problematic, I guess. So I've installed the tail wheel, like temp fitted. It's been on several times. Fitted her back on. I need to adjust a couple of washers on the forward bolt. And what I'm doing now, I want to, these bolts here, where are we? So I could, the more I tighten that, I could just crush this down. So over time, eventually they'll end up touching if you keep crushing it. So I'm just going to, I haven't got a lathe or anything. So those who want to build, all hand tools, and I've got a belt sander and a belt sander grinder and a bandsaw. That's all I use, pretty much, so all hand tools. If I had a lathe, I could turn up a specific sort of, you know, shape. So what I'm going to do in there, I've found a couple of model aeroplane bushes that I had, but they're sort of floating at the moment. They're the wrong length, right diameter, wrong length. So I'm just going to, I've got some aluminium tube here, just scraps. That'll fit on the bolt and just act as like a height spacer, if you like, so I can clamp down onto this. You know, I'll just, if it was a lathe, I'd make it a couple of thou smaller than the thickness of the springs. The other thing is, I don't know, I went with 2 springs. They're just off a trailer. If you look back at other videos, so I don't know if that's not enough. It feels a bit soft. We may have to revisit this, put 3 springs in or take one out. I'm not too sure. It is pretty heavy as well. Also the connections. I've taken some photos of a few aircraft around the airfield, and when friends visit, Damien Mould rocked up in his Christian Eagle. I had a look at his tail wheel and just working out the best way to go about these springs and the chain. This daisy chain gives you some adjustment, I guess. And then we'll go and terminate the cable. That's where we're at the moment. I figured it's easier to do this now than have the tail plane and rudder and everything in the way. And I've primed my panel. I probably should have, hindsight, I should have mounted that while it was not painted. Doesn't matter, but if I muck it up, yeah, I should have at least had that clecoed on, I think. Hindsight's a powerful thing. Get this tail wheel mounted, get the cables rigged. I've just used Gorilla Glue for the cable exit, this outer sleeve. This will get cut off, probably about 1 inch poking out. Just remember to take the inner cable out first. I'll chock up the rudder pedals, get the wheel straight and terminate the cables. So I've got a fair bit of room there for whatever. yeah, I want to do the fun bit and get the tail on, but we'll do the hard yards first. It'll pay dividends in the end. So we've got a bit of a Tetris game going on here. That's taken me about 6 goes to get that all working, having never done this before. But I just want things to be loosey-goosey and work the best way. So I've bought this off Aircraft Spruce, the tail wheel, and the spring fights against itself, if that makes sense. You can sort of, like you just slide this. I've just put it all together, but I'll show you guys. See how you can slide that part out, which just goes down and back around, which takes the chain out. But you sort of got to remember which way everything goes. Anyway, so that's a compression spring. You see, if I could pull that, I won't because I'll pull the aircraft off. Yeah, it'll compress that spring. Then I'm going to come up, I've just plucked out 10 links because it's a round figure, and then I'll terminate this to the cable with a normal shackle arrangement, I guess. And then what I'm going to do is I'll probably put a lock wire on these pieces. It's like a car key ring. I might just lock wire those down to keep them closed. Because I know with the model aeroplanes, tail wheels are often just sort of neglected a bit and they can give you lots of grief. So I'll try and make this as bulletproof as I can. And do it once, do it right. But I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't know if I'm doing it right. Okay, so with the Olympic surfing on in the background, that is gnarly, dude. Far out, awesome. Double switch back in the half pipe position. Awesome. So, I've got the rudder pedals locked up, a couple of old batteries. Rudder can't go anywhere, relatively square, and the cable's not ollie-oofed around the front. 2 outer ones are tail wheel. Now I'm not sure how much, so there's no turnbuckle. That's what the links are for, I guess. I can maybe I need to leave it a couple of links so that I can lengthen. I can shorten. Will I need to lengthen it? Yes, I think I might. So I've got 10 links. Why don't we put it in, say, number 7 and leave a couple just hanging down, or I can zip tie them back. Well, how much adjustment are you going to need? No more than 1 inch. Maybe just 2 links. Let's do 2 links. So I just worked that out while I was talking to you guys. So I've got plenty of tightening, but I may need to slacken it off 1 or 2 links. So I might move this to there. Anyway, what I was going to show you is then I'll just, crimp that up. Not too sure on the tensions. It's a castering wheel. I'll just do them up snug and we'll go from there. Oh, sorry guys. Just seeing if I could do that. Just watching the Olympic rings. I reckon. Yeah. I'll keep building. I won't do the rings, I'll keep building. Yeah, Olympic rings, eh? And I've just seen my first double roundhouse on the surfing. So anyway, right, tension those up, finish those off. What I'm going to do now, this car key part, or keychain thing, I'm just going to put a lock wire there, and while I'm at it, I might just, you see I've got the 2 links hanging down, looks a bit daggy. I haven't done this yet, but I might just lock wire. I can't actually. I'll clean that up anyway. I'm going to lock wire both ends of that there. See how it's spread? I'll just lock wire it together. So thinking of that, I still follow the Zenith aircraft forums, if you like, or Facebook mainly, Zenith Aircraft Builders and Flyers. A lot of questions, guys, about, I don't know, safety and, hey, I got a little tiny nick and dent. I think there was one person was going to send a spar back, a whole spar, because it had a little nick in it. Do your research, read the book, everything's in the book. Everything's in safety. Every single nut and bolt is in safety. Another big one's the, like these flap bolts. They're done up tight. They can't move. They don't spin. The flaperon moves on the bush, the way it's designed. Just work smarter, not harder. All right, so in keeping with the surfing analogies, this is what's known as a balls up. So it's just a little bit too, I can't get like enough edge distance and the angles are slightly wrong. So the tape, let's call that 10mm tape. I want sort of 10mm all the way around, and it looks like I was more keen on getting this primed than the right size. It's not far out. So just cut another one, which will be better to cover the tape. What I don't want, you can imagine, imagine if I ended up with a screw hole sort of there. It's going to wreck the whole finish of the aeroplane. So, got to be disciplined sometimes. Start again, chuck it out, start again. That'll go on there. I'm just going to self-tapper that. I might run some plywood on the inside. It'll do two things. It'll hold the fabric, glue the fabric as well, sandwich the fabric in there. If you remember back, I didn't put a doily on the inside. And yeah, it's only 1/8 inch ply. So 2/8 would be quarter inch ply for the self-tappers to go in. I'll use self-tappers if they give me any grief. I could put blind nuts or riv nuts or anchor nuts, whatever I need to do in the future. It's not going to come off every day, very rarely. So, and I've looked at pit specials and things next door. They just got self-tappers. The good thing with a self-tapper, if it does work loose, it sort of locks again. If you have imagine a Jubro 3mm bolt or something like that into a blind nut, as soon as it cracks loose, it just vibrates out, game over. That's why I'm going with the self-tappers, nice and easy. And that'll transfer onto those panels on top of the wings as well. So, starting with self-tappers. These panels on the wing here, it'll cover this. I'm pretty sure I'll go with self-tappers to start with. Then any dramas will work out later. All right, doors back on the tent. I was obviously the first one here this morning because I had to get the ice off the padlock. So I got the heater back on. Plan today was, well, maybe is to put the tailplane on when things heat up a bit. Got my panel that I've made up for there. I'm ready to paint at some stage. 0 degrees at the moment. Playing with the wing. So I'm just going through, cleaning up these panels. I've just knocked out that corner rivet. I was going to cut the panel around the rivet, then I thought I might as well take the rivet out and we'll put an oversized self-tapper in the 4 corners. That's sort of prime real estate for the panel. That one looks very close anyway. So I'll use the holes that are there. Because I was working upside down, I noticed with this one, I haven't got much edge distance left in there. So I may have to do something, make a new panel, or it might be easier just to put an extra strip of aluminium under there. Extend the panel. I want to collect these 2 rivets, like here. Yeah. So anyway, that's what you get for working upside down and sort of just whacking them on. And I'll do the same at the back. I'm elongating the slots a bit. I know it all fits the way it is, but I'll just give myself a little bit more room. And these will just get clecoed for now, but ready to final fit, if you like. So I'll do this while it waits for the temperature to warm up a bit, and then I might look at putting the tailplane on. All right, 2 or 3 things going on at once. Got that panel on. I worry about fasteners later. I think my 16th drill bit is slightly too big for my screws, especially through 2 bits of 16th hour, I think it is. It's probably written on here. Yep, 16. But I worry about that later. Worst case, I can put a bit of wood on the back or something like that. I think the covering will thicken it up just for some self-tappers. So that's a sort of cosmetic or functional. I could do riv nuts. I did consider riv nuts, but the thing with riv nuts is what I find, when the threaded bolt, if you like, if it cracks loose, then it'll just vibrate out. Whereas self-tappers are a bit more forgiving. I think I said that before. Also, the size of the hole you need for a riv nut. So for a 3mm riv nut, I think I need a 5mm hole from memory, which is fairly big to put 4 5mm holes or 8 5mm holes extra into my spar. Don't forget, this is my spar. So we'll see how we go. I half expect, you know, if I have to upsize some self-tappers, it's not the end of the day. So got one ready to go. Not sure what I'm going to do on this one, but the day's warmed up. It's now 7 degrees. I've just painted, me being pedantic, the inside edge. This is my plywood doubler that's going to go into my panel. I quickly painted it last night. A bit silly really, it sort of hasn't gone quite off. I hit it with a hairdryer to give it a hurry up. I've painted that edge just because you can sort of see the plywood when the panel's off and you look inside. So why not? That's where these little sample pots come in handy. Really good for those touch-up jobs. Now, I've brought the tailplane in. I might look at installing that. Bit of fun. All right, got my little hand drill. I'm just going through, trying not to drop it through the fabric, cleaning out my holes of all the gunk, and just a needle file to get the paint, and then I'll run a pin through and a bolt everywhere. It'll just make it easy once it is hanging up on the fuselage. All right, just dropped the tailplane on. It's not bolted or anything yet. I can feel the bolts aren't long enough. And we get back to the old adage of tailplane incidence. No one can accurately tell me what their tailplane incidence is. I really love it if someone could say it's 3 degrees. I've had some weird and wonderful ideas. You know, it's 0 when the tail wheel's on a chair. Means nothing. I'm going to just check it again. I'm pretty sure I'm at positive 3 degrees. If you just bolt it on with the 1-inch standoffs, you're about positive 5, which is down elevator. Seems way too much to me. Here's 0, so to 0 my level, plonk it on there, and I've set it up to -3. That way, I think it's lower than I need to be, but I can pack it up. Because the fixed stays underneath, I can't shim it down, if that makes sense. So I'm anticipating it to climb a little bit, but I can shim it. I think that's a critical measurement that's not in the plans. And it's relative to your wing, I know. But the wings are also referenced to datum. So I've got 1.5 positive and 3 degrees positive on the tailplane, if anyone's interested. Okay, part of being a builder, you end up with all these leftovers. So I've got heaps of hardware with the wrong size bolts. Just have to order in some more bolts. That's okay. I've got the flying wires on the tail. I've just realised I've snookered myself. I need to take the fin off to get the elevator in. That's the same on a Zenith actually. You can't get the elevator off because the fin's in the way. not a biggie because everything's just temp fitted at the moment. It's a lot of time taken to get the right dash lengths to get everything in safe and torqued up. So I'll bring the elevator in from home tomorrow. I'll hang that, do all these up, tension up the wires. I just put 20 pounds on each one or something, get them all the same. Lock wire the turnbuckles, and then I'll run the cables, pop the cables out the side. I don't want to do that yet because I'll just hang down and sort of potentially tear the fabric down. Once the control horns are on, I run the cable straight up and at least I can clamp it or clip it, whatever I need to do. Then my panel under there will be finished. I'll put the reinforcing around the edge, and then I painted this edge again just to hide the glue. That's fine. White on the bottom, or linen colour. Things do sort of sink into the fabric a bit. Looks like you're crushing things. I'm trying to torque things up. You have to be careful because at the end of the day it's just a tube. So you go a little bit easy. 20 to 25 inch-pounds for an AN3 bolt. And what else? Tail wheel. Looking good. I sprayed the panel just with a rattle can outside. 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of rattle can, a coat of clear coat, 2 coats of clear coat, I think, over the top of that. Painted some screws as well because that's what I do. And the rudder's ready to go on. I'll put that in the tent before I go home. So heading home for the day, come back tomorrow. We should have the tail finished up, I think, and then it'll be on to the wing. Alright, so I got the elevator on. I had it all rigged, and then wouldn't you get it, the last job, just to put the 3 pins, put the rudder on. I've got an issue. What's happened is, you can see there, so the coverings pulled the hinge line out of square. So the rudder doesn't fit properly. I need to work out what I'm going to do there. Might involve shimming the front, I'm not sure. I can get it on, but it's sort of over centres. Yeah. Alright, we'll persevere. Alright, now due to the fact that my rudder hinge line is bent must be due to the covering. That's a 1-inch tube. It's bent the 1-inch tube, and the 1/2-inch, or I don't know, smaller tube, 3/8 tube at the back has held its shape. So I pulled out my spacer, and that's saved the day. I've got the rudder back to full and free, which is what I need. Hopefully it'll get a bit of it's got a little bit of, see, over centre action happening there. But what do you do? So, lesson learnt there. I should have kept that, well, I don't know. Covering's just bent that. So I've cut the lock wires, doing those again, retensioned everything up. I managed to get to the nut underneath the tail plane with an adapted spanner. Now I'm just lock wiring these up. Turnbuckle, pretty much. I'll just go in at the start, both ends up, cross it under, pull tight, cross it over on top, pull tight through the holes. With the pliers, pull that down, sort of holds it there. If you pull it down and then kink it up, then hold it there. Don't jam your fingers. And then on this side do the opposite. So across on the bottom, across on the top, and I'll just put it through both ways at the eye end. Like that. Then I just tail it off. Side cutters, long nose. I know you can use the one set of pliers, but I like 3 sets of pliers. Then with the tail, I just want to tuck that in somehow. Oops. What I'm trying to avoid is on a pre-flight, check the cable, and it's not going to cut your hand apart. It holds that nice and tight. 30 pounds I went on those. What's on my gauge? All readings in pounds. 30 pounds. So if you don't know, use this, put it on the cable, and it gives you, it's reading about 35 now that I've lock wired it. And I just use it mainly to get them all the same. 35 for 3 30-second cables. You can sort of feel that they're similar. I don't know if that's tight, right, too tight, I'm not sure. Okay, seem to be getting on top of things. Cut a hole in my beautiful fuselage. Got the cables coming out, just a 1-inch slit, like an eye shape on its side. And then I will slid my patches on just so they're on the cable, and they will somehow get glued on there later, like that. I'll concentrate more on function first, then we'll make it pretty. So I'll get these hooked up, and we might be able to do a quick travel check before we go home. All right, you think you just whack these on, don't you? So I've got, where are we at? The rigging wires are complete in my books. I've split pinned everything. Blue tape means I've got, obviously I've got to lock wire that, change the bolt. My leather exits, that has potential to get real ugly real quick, I think. But I'll do a nice neat job with the contact cement. They'll go on something like that. I need to build a leather taco. I might do 2 layers there, just to give me a bit of life expectancy. Maybe a throwaway bit on top. A bit of plywood with some self-tappers, I'm not sure. Just feeling the tensions again. Generally get a feel for, as long as they're the same, I can feel this one's the tightest. So I can back him off. I'll come back in tomorrow and check all these. This is why I haven't lock wired them. I've worked the rudder pedals. I'll give you a look if we can film and do this at the same time. I use my 2 batteries down there as a rudder stop. You can see my rudder bar is square and my control column's vertical enough. So if I give this a wiggle, elevator it's full and free. Got a noise to check out down there. And the rudder, pretty stiff by hand. Well, it's not too bad, but I got my two thighs going to be pushing that. Very direct. Happy with that. Now, what was that elevator noise? Might just be there. Yeah, it is. But I got my, looks like I've got my exits. They're not out by miles, which is great. The cable sort of wants to sit there. So good job on my behalf. Now, what's next? I went to the sign writer. He's kindly printed me out, what's there, 5 samples of wood grain that he can do in a wrap. I'm going to have a look at that now. My panel for underneath can probably go on now. However, I need to make a quick cardboard template, because as you can see, no doubt, the rudder cable runs through that panel. So I need to work out, it may just need a slot in it. I'll do that out of cardboard and work it out, or a grommet. Just not sure how far the rudder cable walks, if that makes sense. Not too bad. Looks like it might just need a slot in it at the back here, but we'll work that out. Alright, so with my panel, I just cut a hole in it. I was going to slit it, but anyway, we'll make it robust, I guess. And put on some of that rubber stuff, which sort of works a treat. It's a nice little panel. I've split pinned the cable, but I'll have to pull that off. I think I know I can undo it. Yep, just undo the turnbuckle, and this will go on something like that, and that'll finish that job off nicely. Tomorrow I'll just glue those on, and then my dream, if you like, of having from there back done will be complete. Looking good, going well, time to knock off. The glamorous part of building on a cold floor. Come on, buddy, you got this. Okay, this is a slow old process, getting everything right, final fit wise. So I've lock wired all these, split pinned. I split pinned these. The problem I've got now, I come to the final lock wire of these, but I've got this too neat. If I put a lock wire in there, it actually binds the turnbuckle up. So when I move the elevator, the turnbuckle, rears up or down. So I just need to, I had them all lock wired, and then I thought I'd finished. I need to shave a bit off the black control horn on all 6 positions. I tried, doing it against the grain, something different. I could get the lock wire in there potentially, but it's just going to lead to problems, I think. So yeah, need to modify that. It's slow and steady. It just takes a lot of time doing the final fit sort of stuff for obvious reasons. It's got to be right. Okay, final job. Just put on these leather patches. A bit daunting putting glue on my pretty plane. Both sides, let it dry. Then we'll whack those patches on. Hopefully they stick down nicely. I've got to make up some doily leather patches for on there, and we'll call that done. So everything is split pinned, lock wired. I ended up going around the clevis pin. Probably not correct, but I didn't want to sort of grind my control horns down. We'll see how that goes. I anticipate some adjustments anyway in the future. It'll be 12 months before I taxi it out for a flight, so the cables may need a tweak. But we're in the ballpark. Glue these patches on, put it on the ground, call that done. All right. Do you remember when I stood back and had that vision? From there back, painted, roundels, flight controls, rigging, tail wheel, all done. That's where we're at. So it's really cool to come in this morning. I'll turn the lights on. Come in this morning. Got my panel down there. Looking good. Everything's in safe. These haven't lifted off, which is good. Happy. We'll call that complete. Full stop. From there back, complete. I got the new bolts in today. They come in the mail. Dash 26s, nice and long. My 2 threads. Only thing I'm going to do, I did the double spiral wrap on the turnbuckles, but then I just practiced. GoPro's playing up, sorry. So I practiced on one of these. If you're going lock wire, you're going to stab yourself. And did the double wrap. Just looks a bit neater because you can see these ones. So at some stage I'll sit down with a coffee and probably redo a few of those. Might leave the ones you can't see. Doesn't really matter, it's just a locking medium. But really happy with how that's turned out, guys. Now I've just moved over onto the wing, back on the tin tapping. Cleaning this up. You see I've done clear-coat all my panels now that I can work on them. If you remember back, they were up there somewhere about 9 feet high. Now I'm just cleaning them up and then I'll throw them back in the cupboard. I've got to take edges like this off where the covering will potentially hit and tape this up ready for covering. A couple of things I need to do. Once again, there's nowhere for the covering to stick to around there, for argument's sake. I need to keep this clear. This is the inner bit, the donkey dick. I think I'll run some verticals on this rib to stop it. I've got to stop it crushing, and then I might run some back to stop it pulling in with the fabric. I'm not sure if we discussed it before, but I think I covered it. The fabric bent the rudder post. So there you go, guys. I've just been out flying. Beautiful day today. Had a good flight. Got the fuselage finished. I'll finish up the video there. Appreciate those that have jumped on board recently, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.